Oh, should we do the clap thingy?
Yeah. Or no, actually.
Or just count down?
Yeah, we can clap, actually. Is it recording?
No.
All right, let me know when you're good.
All right, go. Alrighty. We are back. Los Angeles Lakers. Hey, we're still thinking about a podcast name, podcast logo.
Facts.
Got my buddy Donatello Pope in the lab. Shout out to him. Hopefully he cooks up something nice for us. So we'll see what happens there. But wanted to hop back on, film another one, heading into All-Star break. Believe the two things that happened since we recorded last were the acquisition of Alex Len, and someone here called that, so
Big
that's crazy.
Big shout out to Minty.
That's crazy. And then, that pickup, and then obviously we back-to-back with the Jazz, won the one at home, and then we just barely lost the one on the road, which was Wednesday night. And I was there in the building for that. And that was also Alex Len's debut. And a couple other players were, I don't know, that was just an interesting game all around.
Yeah, I mean, we can just start by talking about the first game. Obviously, we talked about that was coming up, and that was in LA, and that was Luka's debut. And we talked a little bit about that last time. You know, we saw some of the differences going into that game from him playing in Dallas to being in LA, first time playing since Christmas. And they looked really good. And, you know, to be honest, I thought Wednesday was going to be kind of the same, if not just a little more heading towards the Jazz way, you know. Didn't think it was going to be a blowout, obviously, but the Lakers should be winning games like those, you know. And me and Minty were talking about that a little bit. I think it was halftime. We're close to halftime, maybe third quarter. Minty was like, "Man, what is going on?" And I'm like, "Hey, this is just one of those games," and we'll kind of talk about some of those themes that went on throughout that game in Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it here. It was definitely a weird game, tricky game, heading into All-Star break. I think that's kind of known around the league as kind of a trap game, for lack of a better word, just where, people are kind of already mentally checked out, which is fair. I mean, the Lakers are in Utah. Like, that's another thing. Like, I don't know. There's plenty of reasons why, but, I mean, just looking at kind of the numbers-wise, I mean, the Lakers could barely hit a shot, specifically at the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things, you know, they were talking about a lot during the game was the Lakers are a top 5 free throw shooting team. And I think they went 50 or just a little bit over 50% in that game here in Utah. And, you know, you play on Monday, or what was that? You played Tuesday?
So the first one at home was on Monday.
And they blow the Jazz out.
Yeah.
The Jazz out. Not even close. And then you got to come to Utah and try and do it again. You know, kind of like Minty was saying, trap game. You go less than 60% from the free throw line. You can't buy a bucket in the third quarter. I don't know what was the scoring per quarter looking like the box score.
That's a great question.
I think it was.
So the Jazz outscored the Lakers in the third quarter by 10 points. It was 40-30 in the third quarter.
Was there are all the other quarters pretty close or?
And then, I mean, first quarter 33-30 for the Jazz. Second quarter was 31-26 for the Jazz. I mean,
I guess that fourth quarter kind of evened it out a little bit. I think the Lakers, once the bench came in, they were able to bring the deficit down.
Yeah, that's the thing. Once kind of the game was out of hand, I mean, the Jazz had as much as a 25-point lead, and they end up bringing it back in within 12. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's just because, the
just
bench
the game's
players.
Over.
Hey, Bronny James at the end.
Hey, I'm loving that.
9 points. Believe he scored more than Paul George, who is washed now. Podcast P. So Shout out Bronny.
Shout out Bronny, man. He was making some plays there at the end. I mean, one of the best ones was that little combo he hit on the wing, little step back three.
The step back. Yep.
I mean, yeah, he's doing his thing. I mean, probably the best place to be is playing without any pressure there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant that isn't in the paint for the Lakers, who they tried to bring someone in, like we said, Alex Len. And I think obviously first game, 1 game sample size, we don't know, but as far as we saw,
So here's what happened. Listening to the post game press conference with JJ Redick, he was frustrated because they were asked about, hey, what'd you think of Alex Len's debut, and he was frustrated, and reason being is because kind of had to throw him in. I mean, he already was getting thrown in, right?
Mhm.
But even more so because Jackson Hayes went out after getting hit in the face, I believe. So Jackson Hayes was honestly probably going to be the primary center for that game,
Yeah.
as expected. And then change of plans. Hey, Alex Len, instead of playing 10 minutes tonight,
You're going to play
probably
20,
playing
25.
20, 25, yeah, whatever it might be. So, I mean, in that sense, you give him the benefit of the doubt. But, I mean, even still, he didn't look the greatest. So,
And I mean, and this is another thing Minty pointed out as well. The Lakers were without Gabe Vincent and without
Dorian.
Dorian Finney-Smith. Finney-Smith is usually in the starting lineup, I think, and Vincent's like 6th man, I think.
Yeah.
You play without those two guys. I think Vincent's been averaging like 9 to 12 points per game over their little winning streak they had before they lost on Wednesday. And, you miss out on those points. And I don't know exactly how many free throws they missed, but I think at one point they had missed 12, and they were down by 20 or 24, and they'd only be down by 10 if they just make their free throws, which they have done all season. And,
Yeah.
we want to make excuses, but the Lakers got to win those. It doesn't matter who's on the floor. You got to find a way to win those. You're obviously the better team. You have Luka and LeBron. I mean, Luka's obviously on a minutes restriction. I think it was 30 they were saying, but 30 minutes is plenty because Luka played less than 30 when they blew him out by 30. And you have LeBron playing he played just about his usual minutes. He was playing. I mean, I think JJ Redick kept all the starters in. Even though they were down 20, going in the fourth? They were down 20 going in the fourth, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. That's that. I did notice that as well. He kept the starters in for a good while before calling
pulling
it quits.
them.
Yeah.
And I think JJ Redick was just trying to win the first 5 minutes of that fourth quarter. And once he saw the scores pretty evened out after 5 minutes, he just decided to pull him, which, you kind of got to do going into the All-Star break. You just don't want to risk anything. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Numbers of note, just kind of that you mentioned, the free throws we've mentioned. Lakers hit 17 out of 30. That's 56% from the line, whereas the Jazz go 26 for 33, so 78, almost 79%. So that's definitely going to do it for you.
And what was the Lakers' field goal percentage? It was pretty bad, too.
Field goal, so Lakers' field goal is 44%.
Okay.
And this is Wednesday night we're talking about. And then Jazz was 52%.
Yeah. So pretty, like 8% difference. But
Yeah.
I think the starters in the third quarter for the game were shooting 33% from the field. And they could not buy a bucket. I'm telling you, the ball wasn't rolling their way on some rebounds. I mean, you could do a better job boxing out.
Yeah.
And Alex Len's just barely getting into the rotation, but man, it just looked like a Jazz night, to be honest. The Jazz were hitting pull-up threes in transition. They were pushing the ball down faster than the Lakers could get back on defense. And, I mean, we could talk about the points in the paint difference, too. I think the Jazz, 50? 40,
Yeah, let's
50
look at
points
that
in the paint?
one. Points in the paint.
It was pretty big.
So we're looking at points in the paint here. Lakers finished with 36 points in the paint, and the Jazz finished with 54.
Yeah,
And I mean, yeah, we've talked. That's
That's
mostly
exactly what we
because of
talked-
the
yeah.
the center problem. Jackson Hayes goes out with a facial contusion, and you're left with Alex Len, who isn't expecting to play that role,
Yeah, he
honestly.
wasn't.
And then, yeah, I feel like not having Dorian there doesn't help either. He's a great defensive presence as well. And yeah, I mean, it was a Jazz night for sure. Jazz finished with 6 players in double digits, including Keontae George with 20 off the bench.
Wow.
Then you're looking at the Lakers, who finish with 5 players in double digits, but their bench contributors weren't the greatest. So if we break down the bench, we have Alex Len, who had the most minutes off the bench with 22 minutes, only 4 points. Then next up, you go down the line, you have Vanderbilt, you have Goodwin, and you have Dalton Connect. And those 3 combined for 16. And Dalton Connect has 10 of those 16.
Yeah,
So you didn't get much from Goodwin, who actually has been a bright spot recently.
he has been.
And you didn't get much from Vanderbilt, who, I mean, isn't necessarily known for offense anyways. But, yeah, that doesn't help, especially when the Jazz have a bunch of contributors helping out, and the Lakers don't. So,
Yeah, and another thing, too, was Luka with 5 fouls.
yeah,
almost
I
fouled out
forgot
of the
about
game.
that. Yeah, so that was an issue, too, because you'd love to have his presence on offense, but you can't have him in there. He had 4 fouls in the first half, maybe.
Yeah, I think he did.
I think he had 4 fouls in the first half, and so that doesn't help when you're trying to put points on the board.
Yeah, and even when he was on the floor, we saw him making plays. I mean, some of those passes he was making, some of those skip passes, like cross court to the corner. I mean, guy has eyes on the back of his head, and this is exactly what the Lakers need.
Yeah.
Especially when you want LeBron playing off ball and you want Luka to take control of the offense. We saw flashes of that, and we only have a 2-game sample of what he can do with this team. But I mean, where is this the comparison between Max Christie and Luka
Guys,
Doncic?
Max Christie breaking news. Max Christie is better than Luka Doncic. So we are looking at Luka and Max Christie. Luka's played 2 games. I think Max Christie's probably played 3 or 4.
3 or 4, yeah.
Luka averaging 15 points a game. Max Christie averaging 17. And then shooting splits for Luka is 41, 27, 50. Not great. Whereas shooting splits for Max are 51, 55, 83. So blowing Luka out of the water. Did we make a mistake in trading Max?
I don't know, man. I mean, Luka, I don't know if he can be as good as Max Christie, I think, in the long run. Max is a really young, great defensive player, but Luka's
fat, overweight.
He's overweight. He's 270.
Yeah.
He looks 270 out there, doesn't he?
A bad night for Luka is 30, 10, and 10. So, yeah, we probably
I
just
think,
take Max, right?
yeah, Max. I'd take Max, defense. Yeah, for sure. No. Luka, just give him some time, all right? Just give Luka some time. I mean, I think everybody was kind of panicking in that Jazz game, or even in just the past 2 games. They're like, where is Luka? Like, what's he doing? And we're just gonna go back to what Minty said in the first episode. It's hard to be critical, but that's the first thing people resort to once a guy who like you just said, can put up 30, 10, 10 on a bad night, isn't doing that.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, for sure. You have that expectation built up. But no, I mean, only 2-game sample size. And it's a weird time. I mean, the trade deadline is just weird all around.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after the trade deadline is the All-Star break. It's just tricky, right? It's just, yeah, it's a tough position to be in. But plenty of season left to look forward to. There's 32 games remaining, and we'll see what the Lakers do there with those 32 games remaining. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, and some other headlines that we've been looking at. One that I saw yesterday is that the Hornets are still trying to dispute that trade, that rescindment of the trade. And I don't think that's not going to happen, but...
Well, it's funny. I watched Dalton Connect's interview, and he's just done because reporters are asking him about that. Like, hey, you see the Hornets are still trying to do this? And Dalton's like, yeah, like I'm just gonna hoop. Like that's literally what he said. He's like, I just want to play basketball. Like if I, he kind of said like if I somehow go back to the Hornets, which I mean I doubt would happen. Like he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna hoop. And while I'm here in LA, like I'm gonna hoop. So that's wild. Seems very unlikely. And yeah, seems very unlikely. We'll see what happens there. Um, I was watching another, I believe it was a podcast. I think the Morris brothers may have a podcast, or maybe they just appeared on someone else's. But Markieff Morris coming over from the Mavericks as well with Luka Doncic. Talks broke down the trade. Talks about how he found out, um, and just kind of the ins and outs of that, and something funny. So he finds out that he was included in the package, and says, who the hell want me? Markieff Morris on finding out he was getting traded. And then, so someone clipped that. And then for the lovely day of Valentine's Day today, they captioned it, single people today. Who the hell want me? So I can relate to that. I almost wore my shirt, my BYU shirt. Shout out Kyson Thomas. Says, help. It's my last semester at BYU and I'm still single. So can relate to that. Shout out Markeith giving me some bulletin board material there.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see the best of Markieff Morris in that last quarter. And speaking of Valentine's Day, huge shout out to my beautiful wife, Daisha. I mean, Minty was talking about Valentine's Day. He's going to go see a movie with the chica later tonight, but huge shout out to my wife. I love you. We had breakfast this morning together, and it was incredible, waking up every day and seeing her and being with her every day, and Valentine's Day really isn't much different than any other, we keep the same love every day, and happy Valentine's Day, everyone. So.
Big Valentine's Day. I know Kula actually loves the Lakers more than his wife, though. So
Go Lakers, baby.
He told me that, yeah, before we started recording. So
I said I would say that, but I'm not going to say that. Just kidding.
Anyways, I want your thoughts on this one. Going back to Alex Len, Lakers the other night. Lakers have been outscored by 19 points in the 14 minutes Alex Len has played.
From what I watched, man, first game. Where did he come from? He came from the Pacers, right, Alex Len?
Yeah, he was going to sign with the Pacers.
Oh, he's going to sign. Yeah. He's on the Kings, though.
Came from the Kings and maybe even the Wizards. The guy people talk about the Shaquille O'Neal, like, rainbow, completing the jersey rainbow. I think Dennis Schroeder just completed it as well. Alex Len, we should check that. He might complete the rainbow because he's been around the league.
He's been a journeyman?
Yeah, he's been a journeyman.
Huge shout out to Alex Len. Early days playing 2K, 2K13. The amount of times I heard Alex Len from how many my career players I created was actually ridiculous, and I think that's the only reason why I'm familiar with that name. I'm pretty sure he was a lottery pick in the 2012 draft, and I mean, you get outscored. What was it? Outscored by 19 in the 14 minutes he was on.
Yeah,
that's just. I mean, it's unacceptable. And if you want, the Lakers brought him in for a specific reason. The only one that needed to be filled, and that was defensive presence. And he was not doing that on Wednesday.
No, he was not.
And you play without Jackson Hayes. And the first thing I noticed about Alex Len was just how stagnant the front court play was on offense. Like, dude has he really has no offense. What did you say? He had 4 points in 22 minutes?
Yeah, 4 points, 22 minutes.
I mean, I think anytime he got the ball.
It's actually looking at the plus minus as well. It wasn't pretty either.
It's probably like -30 or something.
Yeah, let me give that to you. Alex Len, -9.
Oh, it's actually not bad.
For plus minus. But hey, to be fair, LeBron, -10. So.
Yeah.
But no, it was just a rough game all around, kind of a weird game.
It was, and I mean, you watch the offense, and I think anytime Alex Len got the ball, whether it be in the post or off a roll or a handoff, he stayed in the same spot. Like, there was no room for him to play make or for him really to do anything. I mean, he got dunked on by Laurie Markkinen in the
He
fourth
did,
quarter,
yeah, he
and
did.
I mean, end of the game. But dude, come on, like, I mean, you're kind of thrown into that position, like, hey, our starting center went out. Like, how about you come in and play 20 minutes? But
Yeah.
you know, like show me something. Show me something. I don't think I got anything from Alex Len.
No, I mean, you got some pick and roll action with Shake Milton in the fourth quarter, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes at the end of the game, you're just like, oh, I mean, that's
No,
something you won't
yeah.
ever see. But, um, yeah, I mean, I don't think Alex Len, as of right now, and really as a outlook on the future, I don't know if he's the answer.
I don't, yeah, I would have to agree with that. I don't know if he's the answer.
His feet just look really heavy out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, he's a big dude, and yeah, it looks like it too. Like you can
Yeah, you
tell
can tell
when
he is.
yeah when he's playing.
And the difference between him and Jackson Hayes is just the sheer athleticism of Jackson Hayes. He's 7 foot, but geez, that guy can move.
He can run.
He
Yeah,
can
I
run.
mean,
Like he gets up and down the floor, man. He
yeah.
hustles. Like, I mean,
It's kind of. I mean, yeah, I didn't even think of that. Like those two players probably could not be more
different.
Like, different.
Yeah, and I'm like, so what are you gonna do? You can't run. You can't run Len at the 5 and Hayes at the 4.
No.
Either
no.
way, you're gonna have to have one or the other on the floor to give you what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, because what are you gonna do? You're gonna play offense for a quarter and then defense for another. Like
Yeah.
any minutes that you get for either of them are gonna be one or the other way. If you have Alex Len on the floor, I mean, your front court scoring is gonna be virtually nothing. And then
Yeah.
when Jackson Hayes is on the floor, I mean, obviously opens up the inside of the offense as well as the perimeter. And so, I mean, JJ Redick's definitely gonna have his hands full if the Lakers decide to keep him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they can still just release him if they want to and try someone else out. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, I don't think he's the answer. And I mean, I think it would be worse if we played the Nuggets with Alex Len at center than Jackson Hayes. Man, he's just. I feel like Jokic would have a field day with Len compared to
Oh yeah.
Hayes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even if Hayes got dropped 30 on his head, you can still expect him to get at least like 10 rebounds or something. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on Alex Len.
No, I mean it's kind of what unfortunately just because of the Mark Williams trade and trade deadline in general, it's kind of what we're stuck with.
Yeah.
And I mean 2-game sample size, who knows? Things could change.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens in the last 32 games coming out of All-Star break. Lakers schedule coming out of All-Star break is somewhat favorable. First game out of the break is a home game against the Hornets. We expect a W there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a bit of a revenge game for Dawson Connect. Hey,
Yep.
maybe. Because he played a game for the Hornets, didn't he?
Maybe I think he did. I'm not sure. But
So that's a funny storyline there.
speaking of that, though, I think that is something that's really good about Wednesday's game is that Dalton Connect did have 10 points. I mean, it shows you he's still very capable of putting the ball in the hoop. What, 3 of 7 from 3? He's still making threes, and it's really good to see that because coming off a situation like that, you're like, oh. And Dalton Connect was already kind of in a little bit of a rut also before the trade deadline. He wasn't scoring very well, and he wasn't shooting very well. And so seeing that right off of the trade rescindment, I think is a really good sign. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead with the schedule.
No, yeah. I mean, I mentioned I watched Dalton Connect's presser interview, and yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious he was blindsided by the trade, and now I think that kind of just his eyes are open. He's like, all right, well, this is what it is. Like, NBA is a business kind of thing. We hear that all the time, and I'm sure players hear that all the time, but you don't necessarily internalize it unless it becomes real for you, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And it became super real for him.
Real quick.
Real quick. And so I think now that he has an understanding of that, I think it actually will be a good thing for him. And, yeah, like you said, he still had 10 points. And, I mean, that's coming off of that dramatic
Mhm.
48 hours or whatever it is.
Yep.
So, no, he's a great player with a bright future. And he'll definitely be a contributor down the stretch. I would love to see him getting threes from Luca. I'm trying to spot up threes. Is that the
Mhm.
term? What
Yep.
I'm looking for from Luca, just in the corner on the wing. Like I don't know if there's a better person you could swing it to, right? If you're
Yep.
penetrating, going to the hole, and you swing it out to Dalton, I think that's a great option.
Yeah.
Or Austin Reeves, whoever it might be. But I think those two are great options for shooting the ball.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, well, we're looking at the schedule here. Remainder of February, got the Hornets at home, and then you go to Portland, which should be a W. You go
Mm.
to Denver on the road, and that's probably a loss. And then you go, or actually a home game against the Mavs, um, which honestly, who knows? The Mavs have no center at all.
And
Gafford
so
is
do the
out.
Lakers. I mean, they don't have a center either. And
That is a great point.
then again, we do have a week. Concussion protocol is only a couple days, so who knows? We might have Jackson Hayes back by then, but
Yeah. So that's an interesting game, and I mean, even I was watching the Mavericks Warriors game, and the Mavericks still won without having any
any
center.
center.
And that's because of Kyrie Irving, my goat, the greatest handles of all time,
Mm-hmm.
dropped 42. And so I don't know. I think it'll take that kind of effort from Kyrie and probably some others if the Mavs were to win that game. That game just feels like a toss up, just because the Lakers or the Mavericks literally have no center. Gafford out, Lively out, Anthony Davis out. So we'll see what happens there. And then they're sticking around at home with the Wolves and then the Clippers to finish out February. So we'll see what happens there. I think Anthony Edwards looks forward to coming to Crypto.com Arena,
Mm-hmm.
facing up against the Lakers. He's a big time player, so I'm sure he's got that one circled on his calendar. And then finishing off with the Clippers. So we'll see what happens there in February. But overall, it's not too bad of a schedule. I think the only tricky ones there are probably Denver for sure.
Yeah, when you play Denver twice. Looks like twice in March. You play the Celtics once. You got the Rockets twice in the next 2 months. Um, I mean, I'd say it's pretty balanced for sure. You have a lot of games in those last 32 that you can easily win, and you have some that you kind of expect to lose just based on our current situation.
Yeah, for me, looking at the remainder of the schedule, 32 games left, I'm thinking around 17 wins out of 32, finishing the year. I guess that 32 game stretch, 17 and 15. And that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to finish below 500 in that stretch, 15 and 15. Or I guess that wouldn't be 15 and 15. Whatever. Oh, 16 and 16 because 32. Wow, math. I
Oh,
love
you're
math.
good. You're good.
Yeah, 16 and 16. I think that's probably the floor. You wouldn't want to finish below
Yeah.
that. But I mean, if you could get up 17, 18, 19, 20, anything above 20, I mean, that'd be crazy to finish the year on that.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I have them at 20 and 12, finishing out the year. Um, There are just a couple I think the Lakers lose just based off pure. I mean, we don't know how many of those are back to backs. But just based on opponents that you face one after another. I mean, you have some games where you play teams like the Nets, and then you turn around and play the Bucks, or you play the Spurs, who are kind of like playing play out type spot in the seedings, and then you turn around and play Denver. Um, you have and then you have some nights where you play Grizzlies and then Rockets back to back. And so, I mean, you have a ton, and I think that's one thing that I can say confidently as a Lakers fan is that a lot of these games are very, very, very winnable.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and playing and having Anthony Davis, you find out he's out, and a schedule like this is very much up in the air. But when you get a player like Luca, who's who's healthy right now, He's
Yeah.
gonna get healthy. He has another 4 or 5 days to get even more traction under his feet in terms of playing with the team. And you see a lot of these games, and you're like, a lot of these games. Just looking at who the Lakers have, LeBron and Luka. We know LeBron can win without AD. We know Luka can win without LeBron. And so, you look at a lot of these games, and you're like, the Lakers are very, very capable of winning a lot of them. So me and Minty are on that 17 to 20 mark of wins, and I think that's very reasonable for sure. They can definitely go over 500 in those last 32 games. But yeah, we're really excited for that last stretch because it's gonna be huge.
Yep. See how they can finish, and yeah, above 500 would be great. 20 wins or above 20 wins out of 32. I mean, that'd be excellent. And just maybe we'll finish with this. Going back to Wednesday's game against the Jazz, mentioned the free throw struggles. I have a picture here of an astronaut with the Lakers logo on his head. And the caption says, "Make your free throws or go to the moon." So
And the Lakers
Lakers
we're going to the moon.
Lakers are going to the moon. In terms of Wednesday, I mean, hopefully that's not the case moving forward. But yeah, in terms of Wednesday, in that case, they were going to the moon for sure.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like we said last time, free throw shooting and 3-point shooting have been Los Angeles Lakers kryptonite over the last couple of years. Free throw shooting, especially in the clutch, has been a crutch for us that we have not been able to lean on. And so is 3-point shooting. But, that's one thing I can be grateful about that Mark Williams trade getting rescinded is that we still have a shooter. We still have,
That's true.
I mean, technically two of them. Cam Reddish is like a 34 or 36% 3-point shooter. But, I mean, Dalton Connect's a legit wing to corner threat. And you can score from anywhere on the I almost said field. You can score from anywhere on the court if you have Luka and LeBron driving and dishing. So, they just hit the threes, but definitely please hit the free throws from here on out. I mean,
Yes.
obviously a fluke game. I think it was just like I said to Minty, I was like, it's just a Lakers in Utah type of night.
Yeah.
It just wasn't going the Lakers' way, and the Jazz were literally almost making everything they were looking at in that, especially in that third quarter and that second quarter. They were making quite a bit of shots, and I was like, why we just couldn't even buy a bucket? It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize this, but Austin Reeves 1 for 10 of 3 from 3.
Yeah,
That's not going to do it.
Yeah, and another thing is too, I mean, I think it was against the Warriors. Austin Reeves had that same shooting night, like 1 for 9, 1 for 10 from 3. And then the next game, he drops 45 against the Pacers and shoots really efficient. So, I think it was just one of those games. The Lakers just shoot very terribly, and the Jazz just somehow find it in themselves, and they think, hey, we're tanking, but we'll take a win against the Lakers.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard from Jazz people around the league or Twitter or whatever it might be. Like, yeah, we're tanking, but hey, if we have a chance to beat the Lakers, you might as well, right?
You got to beat them. And I think the season series is 3-1 right now, Lakers. So
yeah,
we'll let you guys have one.
Hey,
honestly.
Yeah, we'll let them have it for sure. But yeah, no, just going back to that. Yeah, not a great night. Shots weren't falling for mostly anyone. I mean, other than Bronny James towards the end of the game.
Yes, sir.
With 3 minutes left to go when no one is trying anymore. But no, yeah, great things to look forward to for the remainder of the season. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes, sir. Go Lakers, Lake Show, baby.